Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video we're discussing Confessions of a Murder Suspect, written by James Patterson and Maxine Paetro. It's the first book in the Confessions series. It's a young adult mystery series. I found it an interesting read. It's James Patterson's attempt at a classic locked room murder mystery. This book won't be a classic, it's not strong enough for that, but it is an interesting book. And I think I do want to read the rest of the series. It's piqued my interest enough. The book starts with Tandy, our main character, being woken up by sirens. When she looks out at the street, she sees police cars stopping at their apartment building. So her family lives in this huge apartment in a very expensive building. The police stop there and suddenly their intercom's buzzing. She rushes to answer it. And it's the doorman, and he says the police are on their way up to their apartment. Suddenly, there's knocking on the door. When Tandy opens it, there's two police detectives there. They want in. They barge their way in. Make their way to Tandy's parents' room. Tandy follows them, and at first she thinks her parents are asleep, but then when she sees the scene, she realizes her parents are dead. The police are there because somebody has killed her parents. So immediately, Tandy, and the reader of course, is wondering how her parents died. Their apartment is very secure. Nobody can get in without a key. All the windows are locked. All the doors are locked. The only people there are her parents, who are now deceased. Tandy's twin brother Harry, her younger brother Hugo, and her mother's personal assistant. They're the only people in the apartment. Could one of them have killed her parents? The police suspect so. Tandy's sure that nobody in her family could have killed her parents. But how did they die? Tandy decides then that she's going to investigate herself. She's a very smart girl. Very, very smart. The whole family is very smart. All the kids are very exceptional in different ways. And they're raised quite uniquely. So as the book goes on, in Tandy's thoughts and memories, we experience how the kids were raised by the parents, and they were raised in a very strange way. They weren't shown a lot of affection, and they were given very, very stressful and very extreme tasks, it seems. And if they did something that displeased the parents, they were punished in a very, very extreme way. And the parents were very creative in how they punished their kids and how they rewarded their kids as well. So when they rewarded their kids, it was huge rewards. But when they punished their kids, they were very extreme punishments. One of the things that irritated me a bit in this book, though, is that all the kids, even though they were very exceptional, they acted in very strange ways, and I think too over the top in some cases. Just some of the ways they acted just seemed not lifelike. Not real at all. One example is the youngest child, Hugo. For a very young child, I think he's a 10 in this book, he's always lifting weights. And he seems very strong. He's described as being strong as a lot of adults. And in this book, he does extreme things. He attacks people. He attacks furniture with a baseball bat, smashing it with a baseball bat. He's very aggressive, overly so, and I don't think a 10-year-old would act like that. And if they did, I think there'd be a lot of red flags. What person would let a 10-year-old act like that? So that type of behaviour from these characters just seemed not lifelike, not real at all, and it doesn't add anything to the story. It takes away things from the story. It takes away the focus from the mystery, and that's what we're meant to be interested in this book, is the mystery of how the parents died. What I like about this book is the way Tandy goes about investigating the mystery. I found it very engaging, very entertaining. It did remind me a lot of Nancy Drew and that type of thing. And just the way she goes about trying to find clues. Some of the clues seem to come about a bit too easily, but I think that's okay in the book. I mean, it is a young adult book, so it can't be too complex. And I did like the way Tandy went about it. I liked her character. I liked her voice and her point of view. So her character added a lot to the investigation as well. And I think she was very consistent, very cleverly done. and I thought the authors used her to effect quite well, because she drove the plot forward a lot, and I thought that if her voice wasn't as good as it was, if her character wasn't as good as it was, it would have suffered a bit in this book. I did like the fact that we learn more about the parents and about their own history as the book goes on, and it's not big chunks of history, it's woven well into the plot. I did enjoy the way that was done. The conclusion of the book, I didn't mind the conclusion that much. I thought it was okay. I do like the fact that it sets it up for a sequel. I'm interested to see what happens in their lives in the next book. And there are big moments in the book that I think carry on into the next book, and I want to see what happens. I'm very curious to see what happens in this series. That's set up very well, and I think the authors were very clever in the way they set the end of the book up for that sequel. The authors were clever in introducing a suspect in the kid's uncle. So the uncle forces his way into their lives after their parents die. He forces his way into their apartment. He stays there, and he won't let them into the room he takes over. And the interactions between the kids and the uncle are interesting. I think they're pivotal into the book as well. And I just love how he becomes a big suspect. There are so many questions about the uncle, and that plays a big part into the mystery. I thought that was very cleverly done. Tandy is our main character, and we see most of the book through her point of view. I like her as a character. I liked her voice. I liked the way she described things, the way she thought, the way she was presented in the book. The one thing I didn't like about her is the way the authors had her speaking directly to the reader. I didn't really think that was needed. It didn't engage me at all, didn't hook me at all. I found it distracting. And I think if that didn't happen, the book would have been a bit more enjoyable. I did like the fact that she was a very strong female character. She had that certain authority, and it was very consistent as well. She's very strong, very stubborn, very clever. She doesn't back down from an argument. All those things make her a very positive, a very big character in this book. Harry is Tandy's twin. He's not as consistent as a character. He's almost opposite to Tandy. I didn't find him as engaging, as likable. I didn't find him as consistent. I thought there were moments where he was written as too up and down, too extreme in his emotions, and that didn't fit to what the characters were in this book. The children were conditioned to not be too emotional. They were conditioned to accept things and work things out and move on, and Harry didn't seem to fit that. I found that a bit strange in this book. He's still okay as a character, but not as engaging or endearing as Tandy is. Hugo is the youngest sibling. He's the character I like the least, and the one that makes the least sense in the book. I didn't believe in the way he acted. The way he acted just seemed too extreme, especially for his age, and I think the authors should have tempered that a bit, should have made it that extreme. It took away from the mystery, it took the focus away from the rest of the characters, and he almost felt like a cartoon a bit. He felt like a bit of a cartoon character that did extreme things, and then the story moves on and you meant to forget about it and just move on. But it happened too often in the book, and I'm just wondering if that character will act the same way in future books in the series. I hope not, but I suspect he will, and if it does happen like that, I suspect it will also just take away from the rest of the book. It will be distracting in the book. I thought the mystery in this book was quite strong. I enjoyed that a lot, and I enjoyed Tandy's investigation into the mystery and the way she went about trying to find out what happened to her parents. I enjoyed Tandy as a character. Her point of view and her voice was very consistent and very strong as well. I rate this a 3 out of 5. I think the over-the-top character elements in some of the characters distracted from the book a bit too much, and I hope that doesn't happen in future books. I suspect it will, but I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in future books in this series. As I read through this series, I'll review each book and put a video up on my channel. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a James Patterson playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.